Peacekeepers versus Conquerors, the Jedi and the Mandalorians, two forces destined to clash. But what began as a war of survival evolved into a hatred spanning millennia. This is the story of why the Mandalorians despised the Jedi and how that hatred defined their entire culture. In both canon and legends, the Mandalorians began as conquerors. They were a nomadic people bound by honor, thriving on combat and expansion. They did not merely fight wars, they sought worthy opponents to test themselves. And eventually they found the ultimate challenge, the Jedi. The Jedi were the only barrier strong enough to halt Mandalorian conquest. Every time the clans expanded, Jedi intervention crushed them. For the Mandalorians, the Jedi weren't just rivals. They were the enemy that humiliated them again and again. In legends, this animosity reached its peak during the Mandalorian Wars. Mandalore the Ultimate led his people against the Republic. The Jedi Council hesitated, but a rogue Jedi named Revan defied their orders and led the charge. Under his command, the Jedi systematically dismantled Mandalorian forces. The final blow came at Malachor V. Using a devastating superweapon called the Mass Shadow Generator, Revan's forces annihilated the Mandalorians. Their fleets destroyed, their warriors slaughtered, their culture left broken. To the Mandalorians, the Jedi were not guardians, they were executioners. But the hatred ran deeper than battle scars. It was philosophical. The Jedi embodied peace, detachment, and restraint. The Mandalorians worshipped strength, family, and victory in combat. To the Jedi, Mandalorians were warmongers who endangered the galaxy. To the Mandalorians, Jedi were hypocrites, powerful warriors who pretended to be above the fight. This clash of values meant even in times of truce, they could never truly coexist. The Mandalorians' hatred forged innovation. They built Beskar armor capable of withstanding a lightsaber strike. They designed jetpacks, whistling birds, flamethrowers, every weapon engineered for one purpose: to slay Jedi. Unlike any other opponent, the Jedi forced Mandalorians to evolve. Generations later, this arms race remained at the heart of Mandalorian identity. To fight a Jedi was the ultimate test of skill and honor. And yet, not all stories were written in blood. Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian ever inducted into the Jedi Order, forged the legendary Darksaber, and with it he united Mandalore, proving the two cultures could coexist, at least for a time. But after his death, the Jedi kept the blade in their temple, and the Mandalorians saw this as theft, as Jedi arrogance, claiming their symbol of leadership as a trophy. The Darksaber became a legacy of conflict, fought over by the clans, stolen back from the Jedi and used to rally Mandalorians against outside control. By the Clone Wars, Mandalorian society had fractured. Duchess Satine sought peace and neutrality, while Death Watch clung to the warrior past. And in the middle of it all, Jedi like Obi-Wan Kenobi became entangled in Mandalorian politics, even forming bonds of love and betrayal. For groups like Death Watch, Jedi interference was just more proof the Jedi could never leave Mandalore alone. Even into the Imperial and New Republic eras, the tension lingered, whether in alliances of convenience or in outright duels. Jedi and Mandalorians never forgot their ancient grudge. The Mandalorians hated the Jedi because the Jedi stood in their way, because the Jedi shattered their people, because the Jedi represented everything they could never be. It was war, it was philosophy, it was survival, and it left scars that endure across centuries of galactic history. Warriors versus peacekeepers. Who was right? The Mandalorians or the Jedi? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, subscribe and follow for more Star Wars content.